What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Groomer podcast. I am here with my new friend, Nick Field. 6
Hey,
years, 18 employees, 13 vans, Nick. You have built something pretty remarkable here, all based in Las Vegas. Dude, I'm super stoked to get into today how you did it, why you did it. You've got a bunch of unique things going on. But before we
yeah,
do any of that, man, you
yeah.
are a crazy man. I think I read that you started in nightlife. Tell me, what were we doing before
Ooh.
grooming?
Yeah, okay. All right. All right. I'm gonna give my life story. I am Canadian. I was born and raised in Toronto. I'm actually in Toronto right now, but I'm visiting my dad for the holidays. A little early for the holidays, but out here visiting him. Yeah, so born and raised in Toronto. I worked as a web developer for a television station, which is Canada's version of MTV. It's called Much Music, and I worked there for a long time as like a web developer. I used to just take the content that they put on TV, and I would put it online, and I'd make sure that their website, which got like crazy amounts of hits every day, was up and running, doing everything from graphics to emails to whatever I needed to do. And I did that for a really long time. And then I kind of got sick of that. So I traveled the world for a little while. I went to Thailand, Cambodia, like Southeast Asia, Australia. I lived in Australia for a long time. And then my travels kind of wrapped up. And then I moved back to Toronto, and I didn't want to live there anymore because the way I kind of saw it, I was young, right? I was like 20, 25 by the time I got back from Australia. And I already had a really, really cool job that would be hard to beat in Toronto. So it's like, what are you gonna do? So I started like looking around for
How are you
normal
going to top
jobs, and I'm
that,
like,
right?
right, yeah, right. So I decided that I wanted to go be a ski bum. And so I moved out to the west coast of Canada to a ski town called Whistler. And if you're not familiar, it's like Aspen,
Oh,
really like
beautiful.
high end. Yeah, it's high end ski town. Super nice. I was a ski and snowboard instructor there. I started up a couple websites there that was doing like hyper local blogs and things like that to make I was trying to make a good go of that. And while I was making those websites, I met a lot of club owners and stuff like that, because I was like focusing a little bit on like nightlife, just because I was a big party guy. And I decided there that I was going to open up a pub crawl in Whistler. And because I did that when I was traveling in Australia, and it did well. Like it did well. I ended up making like better money doing that in the first couple weeks than I had ever really made in my life before.
And
So
what is that? Just that's like I pay you and you take me on almost like it's like a nighttime event where you take me from bar A to Z and we get a special drink at each bar and I just pay you for a ticket to do that.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's exactly it. And it did well. So I think
Sweet.
my first pub crawl, I did like 65 people. And that was in 2009. And I was like running like 150 people like every weekend. Most of that money was going like right into my pocket, because I was just a novice business owner at the time. So that was cool. As your business kind of grows, the overhead gets real, and you pay your insurance properly and all that type of stuff. So I started got really versed in business quite quickly doing that. And then I wanted to expand that business. So what better place to expand a party business? I'll let everybody think about it for like 3 seconds. 2, 1, Las Vegas. So I went down to Vegas 2011 to launch Las Vegas Club Crawl, which then turned into World Crawl. And then I opened up in LA, and I opened up in San Diego, and I opened up in Miami. And I was just like a really, really big party guy, and like ran these really successful parties with doing this stuff. And I would market my own stuff, and I had like a sales team, and going out every night, partying every night. And yeah, it was really cool. But like as time goes by, like I got really interested in like the business side of things, and it's kind of like between business and partying all the time. And then I had to make a decision in my life, like, was I going to be a business guy, or was I going to be a party guy? And I really wanted to focus on business and stuff. And like the nightlife stuff that I do that company still runs today. I ended up selling Whistler, and then the pandemic, we shut down California, and Florida, but it kept Vegas operating, and it still runs today, and it's still successful. But like, there's something about operating these parties in these tourist towns that like it's just not. It's harder compared to a lot of other businesses where you can get a customer and develop a relationship with that customer and keep them for a long time. Where when somebody comes to Vegas, like, okay, you might have given them the best night of their life, but when's the next time they're coming to Vegas? Like, it maybe next year, maybe in 5 years, maybe never, right?
Yeah,
And
makes
that's
sense.
always
I
really
mean,
frustrating.
it's a hamster wheel of customer acquisition. Customer retention isn't even a thing. I mean, they're in and they're out, and you're just worried about where do I get the next one. Versus with more traditional business models, it's all right, I got you in. Now it's how do I keep you happy so you keep coming back, and you have a fair chance of getting them to come back as long as you serve quality services, right? But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
In these tourist towns, it's like they're in and they're out. I mean, as quick as they came in, they're out.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of like ate away at me for a long time. And then I grew up in my life. I had my first daughter. I put drinking behind me, and just wanted to kind of focus on business. And I was looking at like a really good business to open up, and somebody approached me about putting together a dog daycare. And I really liked that idea, and I started really researching it. But I really wanted to put together a business that I could take as far as it would go. Like that's the goal. Like I really wanted something that was gonna be really, really awesome. And like the pet space, all through my life, I've had poodles. I had Peaches and Candy and Chloe and Champ, and like my mom's a poodle. My mom was a poodle lady, and it's like poodle families, and like it's yeah, everybody understands, I'm sure. So yeah, the pets was the right space to be in. I was looking at launching this dog daycare with a partner, and the space that we wanted to get, we wanted like 3,500 feet. No, we needed like almost 5,000 square feet indoors. We needed like 2,000 square feet outdoors. It had to be fenced off. It had to be in proper irrigation and drainage. It had to have proper like access to the right part of town, right? And in Vegas, there's a lot of space, and it was hard to find in Vegas. And I'm like, this is hard to find in Vegas. Like, what's it gonna like be like if we wanted to open in like New York City or like downtown LA? Like, is that even gonna be possible? And then we finally find a place after weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of searching, and then the landlord would shut it down because they didn't want to have anything to do with pets. And it's like, oh, okay, so start the search again. And then it's like, okay, well, it'd be a lot easier if we just bought a place. And then it's like, okay, well, to open your business now, you're looking at like 1.5 to like $3 million, or you're looking at taking on like $3 to $4 million in debt. And like, it's just like, whoa. So during this time, we we're trying to get our pets groomed, and we realized that was impossible because every pet groomer is booked up everywhere. So we made a pivot, and we decided to open up Furry Land, and that's why it's called Furry Land, because it was originally going to be a daycare, but we made the pivot over to mobile pet grooming. So I had a partner when first started, and then got up to we pushed really hard. And at this point, I like when we first opened the doors, I'd never groomed a pet. I've groomed pets at this point, but yeah, no, I've definitely spent a lot of time with a lot of pets at this point. I got the crash course and learned really quick. So, but yeah, but still ran the business. We got to 6 vans quite quickly, and then my business partner and I, we just didn't see eye to eye. He wanted to do different things, and I had an opportunity to buy him and his partner, his life partner out. So I did, and that was in so we opened in 2017, at the end of 2017, and then I bought them out. I think it was a done deal by the end of 20, or by March 2021. And then yeah, so bought
Oh my
them
gosh.
out, and then I was like able to kind of take the vision
Yours.
where I wanted to go. So at that point, I got together with Greg Long, who has a background in franchising, and he's an awesome guy, and he was looking for me, and I was looking for him, and we just didn't know it, and then we crossed paths, and we decided that taking Furry Land national and international was an achievable goal. We started working together for the franchising thing. I'd actually started to try to the whole franchising thing all by myself.
Of course. Why
And
not?
yeah, and yeah, and it was like I was basically like a one man show, like looking up at Mount Everest, being like, "You gonna conquer this mountain?" And then like Greg comes in with a helicopter and is like, "I got you." so
No,
so
I love that. I mean, dude, you're like, even that initial part of your story just fires me up so much because I think you have something subconsciously that a lot of people that approach businesses, even in the pet space, don't have, which you are always looking at the best case scenario. Like when you were going to buy, it was, I want to buy something that I can scale, like that I can actually get big. Like you were immediately like, how am I going to open up a location in downtown New York and downtown LA? And you're in Vegas, right? It's like that was the questions you were asking. For this, it was, how am I going to, build this into a franchise when you were just, staring at 6 vans, right? And so I love those questions that you're asking that's pushing you a little bit further. And it's honestly what's probably led to a bunch of your success. I'm curious, what was it, this realization that you couldn't actually, franchise and do a franchising model by yourself? What made you go try and find outside help?
you know, to be honest, like I wasn't actively looking, right? So I know that you'll always go further with people, but Greg reached out to me and told me about himself, and he has at this point, he's got like 40 years of franchising experience. It was like the CEO of Molly Maids, Mr. Handyman, a couple other brands you might have heard of, and just it knows the industry like the back of his hand. And and he's like a really sincere guy, and he's it's a family business that he started up, and he was off doing some consulting and stuff like that, and he was going to be on his own, making up like a new franchise umbrella company, and he had a vision and I had a vision and we were in line. So when our paths crossed, like it was a no-brainer. So yeah, does that answer your
I
question?
mean, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no, that definitely does. I have so many questions about where you guys are at now because you've reached a level of scale that I think is unheard of to a lot of us. But before that, you said something in just passing that caught my eye and caught my ear more so that I just wanted to double down on. You said you scaled to 6 vans pretty quickly. How and
Yeah.
why? I mean, tell me, those early days, if you can think back to 2018 to 2021, I would imagine that's kind of that time frame there when you had that partner. How did you go from one never ever touching a dog to 6 mobile vans and being confident enough to buy out your business partner?
We took a really aggressive approach. Like when you're starting up a business, you put it put your all your time and energy into it, and customer acquisition, and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking, and it's a lot of, like, it wasn't like a side gig. This was occupying all of my partner's time. It was occupying all of my time. He brought some things to the table, which like about being aggressive with hiring. I brought some things to the table with customer service and marketing, and together we just worked really hard just to build our customer database, and to hire and hire and hire and hire and hire. And we were both skilled business people from before in challenging industries. And when you have businesses that are really hard to operate, like I was in nightlife running, my nightlife business is a lot of direct sales. And so there's like a lot of turnover and a lot of churn and a lot of like I don't know how many times that, you know, people's grandmothers die like in a couple months, but like it seems like they worked for me, and then all of a sudden my no one was at work because their grandmother just passed away, and then like this is you know, we saw all of the challenging stuff, and he was in a business as well that was also in that similar space, right? So we were used to challenges, and so all the challenges that we would see and we would come across weren't new to us, and we were used to it. And a lot of those challenges would put a lot of other people, um, you know, have them throw up the towel, or they would just like take their foot off the gas, but we would just plow forward.
You were calloused. You guys had seen those before. You'd seen dark, scary days before, and this didn't raise any alarm bells. On that vein of challenges, you guys were in it before COVID, and so talk to me
Yeah.
about operating during COVID, and like how many vans did you guys have at that point?
Uh, 7, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, when once COVID was done, that's when, and I bought it with my partner. That's when I really put the gas on growing up to 13 vans in Vegas. And so during COVID, like it was, the rules were ambiguous, right? So it was like the we were sort of an essential business, and we were, you know, obviously there's not a lot of contact when you're mobile because it's just one-to-one contact. You knock on somebody's door, they can hand you the dog, or with like social distancing and stuff like that, and salons had to shut down, and it was ambiguous as to whether or not we were allowed to do it. And so we pushed, and we're like, you know, we didn't want to lay everybody off. Our team didn't want to be laid off. And so we pushed through, and we operated. And then of course we had some complaints from some of the salons that we were operating, and we shouldn't have been. So when that happened, we had a cop approach us and be like, "Hey, you know, you need to stop." And so I called up the Secretary of State, and I was like, "Hey, is this allowed or not?" And they said yes, it is allowed. And so we continued to operate, and then the cop came back and was like, "Hey, we're going to put you in jail if you continue to operate." And so at that point, I actually got the governor's office to write an official letter saying that we were allowed to operate. They did that. The cop came back ready to arrest us. We gave them the letter from the governor saying it is okay for Furry Land to operate. And then he was like, okay, and then he left us alone.
I mean, that is insane. That is insane, and that is an
It's quite the
exact.
story. It is quite the story.
That is exactly what you were just saying, though. I mean, how many business owners would that first approach have scared away? You know what I mean? Like you
Mhm.
guys went to the state government or the secretary, got the approval, and then you went up to the governor. And how many people at each of those gates would have just been like, "Okay, guys, we got to call it quits." It's
Yeah.
that's remarkable that you guys kept going. I'm curious. Before COVID, you had never groomed a dog. We've talked about that. How did you guys find your first set of, as you went from 0 to 6 vans? How'd you find groomers to fill that? I mean, it seems like groomers in such high demand,
Yeah.
and finding them,
Hi,
you guys had to be creative, right?
Yeah, we just hired really aggressively, and we worked very closely. We spent a lot of time in the vans with people that we hadn't uh you know, we were just going through it all. So we hired some experienced groomers. We worked with them closely for the first little while, and that's how we did it. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so now we've gone through COVID. You're a creative guy. You've been in, you're talking about, hey, you come from a direct sales background. You've got tons of email or tons of marketing stuff going on. How do you approach marketing right now? And like, how important is it to Furry Land as a business? Like, how important is that function? What's kind of some of the creative stuff you guys have been doing around that?
Marketing is extremely important for any business. And you know, now that we franchise, and I have a very hands-on approach to a lot of the marketing stuff that I do with our franchisees. I'm actually taking on hands-on role. What we'll see in Miami is not the same as what we'll see in Las Vegas. Like there's differences. Like for example, Miami is a bit of an older city, right? Like in it's people have been in Miami for generations. Where if you go back a couple generations in Las Vegas, there is like the population of Vegas was 10% of what it is right now. So, it's a very new city. So it's actually easier to break into some of these new and booming cities because there's so much growth. There's just more opportunity where more established cities, like you look at Los Angeles, you look at Miami, you just have different types of challenges. So you need to kind of break into places that are already established. So marketing, it's going to be a lot more hands-on and you like face to face, and you've got to get out there. You can't necessarily use like the simple tactics that will work in some of the other cities. You have to be more hands-on.
Okay, so I want to dive into some more practical examples there. But before we do, you actually hit the nail on the head with one of my questions here. One of my questions was directly, hey, I mean, you've seen all of the, you've seen so many markets, especially with where you guys are franchised now. I mean, I go to the, you guys' website and I swear I see every city listed there, every state listed there, right? So you've kind of seen from a bird's eye view. And one of my questions was, how do you know if, are there any markets that stand out? Are there any markets that look great? And you kind of hit one of the properties there, like newer cities seem to be like a green flag for you, that it's easier to break in. Are there any other properties that you identify as like, hey, this is a good sign that there's a healthy market for, either Furry Land or for any other groomers out there to, hey, this is a good market. This is up and coming because of XYZ.
I think that there's opportunity all over the country for the right operator. I wouldn't suggest that anybody can go into any market and just crush it. There are there's a handful of markets where you probably could, just because there's just so much demand, and just not enough groomers. But across the country, and even in other countries, like I'm in Canada right now, and I know in England has a problem, and I know that Australia has a problem, and France has a problem, and like Dubai right now is like popping off, and they need groomers in Dubai like crazy. So there's opportunity everywhere, but yeah, on those more established cities and those like smaller pockets, the challenges are just different. So it's just less easy to just go in and just start performing out the gate. You just need to have more comprehensive marketing approach.
Yeah, and I mean, I would guess that's because the city's a little bit more established, which means people are accustomed to their groomer already. They're less people are moving there, more people have been there, and so they have the groomer that they've always been to. There's businesses that have been established there for many years, so you're competing against incumbents in more established cities. I'm curious. I mean, you're like I said, you're clever, you're creative. I know you've done some growth hacks, kind of in your days. Are there any that come to mind, like some cheeky and clever marketing tactics that you guys have used that you can tell some stories around, like how it's grown certain, market or business or whatever?
To be honest, I think that there's a million ways to get in front of people. You can do digital marketing, you can do flyers, you can do door hangers, you can do things like that. A lot of people want to do the like events and chamber of commerce, things like that, and that stuff is all good. But when you make a connection with a client, retaining them is the most important thing, because a groomer can, if they have like 250 clients that recur every 6 weeks, they'll be making over six figures. So the question is getting 250 clients, like you could probably reach in, your phone probably has 1,200 contacts in it. I don't know, it varies from person to person, obviously, but let's say you have 1,000 contacts in there, and I think the statistics are 60% of all households have pets, right? So you probably have enough contacts in your phone to get enough business to make six figures. But you just need to make sure that they are contacting you. And so how are you going to do that? You have to be awesome. You have to just do awesome things and be cool to people, and give them the personalized attention that they want and care. And if you do that, then I refer to that as just like taking the high road. And if you're always taking the high road, then you'll rise to the top.
I love that. I love that. Do you think that applies to both acquisition and retention? So, in other words, do you think that applies for both? If you take the high road, it'll help you get more customers and keep those customers, or are there additional things that you recommend to do to keep those customers once you get them?
Taking the high road will always keep your customers, I believe. Other businesses are always going to try to poach, whether it's maliciously or just by doing better. They like new customers, right? So, or your customers. But if you take the high road, you should be able to retain your customers. As far as like getting in front of new customers, like out of all my years in business, I would never do anything that is dodgy or shady like that. The people do it all the time. Like they're like, oh, when a groomer leaves a company and goes to work for another company, they take customers with them. There's the business owner is not going to like that, and they're there's two ways you can look at that. One is the customer belongs to the business. One is the customer belongs to the groomer, right? So people generally know if what they're doing is shady. It could go either way, right? It could be a groomer's customer, but it could be the business's customer. Always just take the high road. Just do what's right, and over time you'll succeed. Over time, as long as you don't give up, over time you will succeed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You mentioned that relationship between the business owner and the employee or the staff groomer is extremely important. I mean, a lot of times it's what makes or breaks a lot of these grooming businesses. On that topic, I'm really curious how you view employee pay or groomer pay. I mean, what's the framework you approach to incentivizing and paying your groomers across Furry Land?
Well, first of all, always pay your people and always pay them on time and always pay them correctly. And if there ever is a mistake, like stop whatever you're doing to fix it. Like I don't usually make mistakes on payroll, but once in a while they happen. I'm in business like all the time, right? So if ever there's an issue or somebody needs to like on our pay stubs, for example, we don't fully have like full breakdowns that's easily viewable. But it's not that, it's just the way that our payroll system prints out the checks, right? So but if that stuff ever comes up, like don't be dodgy about it. I hear story after story about people coming in about grooming shops taking tips, or just not being transparent about what people are getting paid and stuff like that. Like that is like a 101 thing that as a business owner, you do not mess with people's pay, period, full stop. Like you will do better if people are paid properly, and that's like period. So yeah, and it just shocks me because I interview people all the time, and I hear it all the time that grooming shops are dodgy with the way people are getting paid. As far as rates go, like grooming shop versus mobile and market to market, things change and things are different. Like and I've seen like some Facebook groups where it's like groomers need to get paid 60% of the fee, and I know places where they get paid 30% of the fee, or flat fees or hourly or whatever the case. That's not really like people need to get paid appropriately for the work that they're doing, and fairly, and that is the number one thing. And if you feel that you'll be better off somewhere else, then go somewhere else. That's what people should do. It varies from market to market, but for me, we incentivize some of the behaviors that like we want to see. Like we have like a 5-star treatment that we want to see all the time. Like we survey our clients, and we're like, how was Joey Joe? I was groomed the other day, and we get feedback on that stuff. And if we hear great things, then we'll do bonuses, and if they're doing all that type of stuff. So we have found that, like, just being cool as an employer, like that goes a long way as well. People, they're like, work is hard. Like, grooming is hard. If you groom 5 days a week, usually people will burn out after usually like 18 months. Like, they're like, then they can leave the industry after 18 months of working 5 days. So we actually encourage people, like, work 4 days, or if you want to do 3, just do 3. But we don't take the approach where it's like, oh yeah, you have to work on this day, you have to do this. Or if someone is working with an aggressive dog and they're not up for it, it's like, okay, cool, we'll just step back, and we just make it as easy and pleasant for our team as possible. Like, when they are at work, this is 1/3 of their life. It's like, you spend a third of your life at work, a third of your life at work, a third of your life sleeping, and a third of your life driving to work, or or having fun, or eating dinner, or whatever the case is. So I'm big on lifestyle, and I think that people need to enjoy work, and I try to be really easy to work with, right? Like, so if someone's got an issue, like, I'm Canadian, I'm nice, right?
No, but I mean, whether you did it intentionally or not, I mean, we all know groomer burnout is probably one of the most leading causes of, people leaving the industry. And the industry,
Yeah.
well, there's so much demand, and everyone's already overworked. And so we can't afford to, work groomers to death to drive them out of the industry, right? And so practices like you're saying, I mean, honestly, I haven't heard the non-5-day work schedule recommendation a lot, but I actually really like it, because as it is, I feel like a lot of shops or mobiles take 2 days off a week, anyways, but they usually put them back to back, whether it's a Sunday Monday or Saturday Sunday.
Mhm.
But honestly, something about what you said got me thinking. I wonder if it's smarter to go 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, or 2 days on, 1 day off, right? Kind of like that, just so you're not working, like you just said, 5 days in a row. I mean, that's got to start hurting after the fourth or fifth day, and
Yeah,
if not physically, mentally, I mean, that's got to be taxing. And
yeah,
so I do
yeah.
really like your approach, and I think it's smart to keep in mind, especially with groomer burnout. Let's talk call centers. Um,
Yeah.
First things first, I would imagine this has to do with some sort of framework that you have about, hey, I just want groomers to groom. Talk to me. How do you use call centers right now effectively in your business, or how do you view, the job of someone answering the phone and booking it? Is it because you just want groomers to groom and you think these people are better for that, or just I want to open the floor to that. It's very unique that you
Sure.
do that.
So yeah. So the thing is about the call center. So the call center is a function of the franchise, right? So let's put it like this. So when I had 6 vans, I had enough to have a dedicated person who was able to do that, and still I was able to make enough money. And then as like I moved up to 13 vans, we had there was enough cushion in everything to have it so that I could have a team in the office 7 days a week working on stuff. So I'm was very used to having the call center, like people would call in, and we would book, and we would handle all the phone calls, and handle everything except for grooming, basically everything. So if there's an issue with the van, or if like a flat tire on the side of the highway, like, okay, our office team would get up and go and deal with it. So we are franchised. We are now in we have, I think by February, I think we'll have like 62 Furry Lands open. So that's across the country, and there's a couple states we haven't even touched yet. So our growth is awesome, and we keep bringing on amazing new owners that are stoked to be part of that. And so like I didn't want when you start off with one or two vans, which pretty much everybody does. They start off with one van, two vans, or three vans. It's hard to be making the revenue and to have somebody dedicated to answering the phones, to answering all the book now submissions and stuff, scheduling, rerouting. Like, so a groomer calls in sick, you've got 5, 6 appointments that day that you've got to figure out, like reroute, and that can take like an hour and a half. You have to call up customers, be like, hey, I know we were supposed to be there today at 10 o'clock, but groomer called in sick, so this is what we have to do about it. So like it takes a lot of time and effort to do that. That is a responsibility that we did not want the franchisees to have to deal with out the gate, especially out the gate. So as we started growing, I just put a team in place. It started with originally just my team, and then I brought on 4 people for our first, I think, 8 franchisees, and then brought on, and now the team is like, it's like 25, and we're handling all the phone calls and all the text messaging back and forth and all that type of stuff. So we handle all the customer communication so that the owners or the managers can just focus on getting groomers and making sure their vans are operating correctly.
I mean, I freaking love that. I mean, I think every groomer that hears that is sitting there shaking their head like, holy cow, how do I do that? And so obviously we all don't have, 60 franchises that we can afford to have, 25 people sit in a call center. At what level do you think it's viable if we're mobile or if we're salon even, or brick and mortar? At what, level of our business, or at what stage of our business do you think it makes sense for us to outsource all the admin tasks to a admin or to a business person or receptionist or anything like that?
So this is a general business question that's not really doesn't need to focus on just grooming, right? So when you're looking at that for any business, you are going to want to outsource the lowest cost tasks, yes, that that are taking up the most of your time. So for admin stuff, like if you can get done your admin for like in like 30 minutes a week, which I was able to get done. Like I sometimes still do my own admin, because admin usually has to do with numbers, and I want to keep on some of my numbers. Like I like to have my finger on payroll and things like that, just to make sure that because I don't want that stuff messed up, and I got to make sure that I'm balancing my books and all that type of stuff. So but then when you are like taking calls and doing reschedules and things like that, you need to think, like, do you want to see what you can afford? Like if you want to, like let's put it like this. Like if I didn't have any staff, I would have no time, but I'd probably be driving like a different Lambo every day. But yeah, I don't want to live my life like that. I would like to have, free time to do stuff. So I sacrifice that extra money for someone that's going to come work for us. And so you have to look at your numbers. That's if you can afford it and you don't want to do it anymore, that's when you're good.
I like those. That's the 2 questions that you should ask yourself. I mean, dead on. I mean, it all comes down to like, what's your time worth? But it's like, okay, if I know that we have room in our budget or our profit and loss statement to outsource, they can be in your business, you can hire them in. But if we know we have budget to bring in someone to do all of this annoying headaches, and maybe even, they start answering more phone calls, you might get more business. So if we have room in the budget to do that, and it's worth our time to do that, we want to get home at 5 p.m. every night instead of going from 5 to 8 doing admin work, then it probably makes sense to go try and find someone for that. I see so often so many salon owners are grooming themselves during the day, and then spending the after hours going through their books or, scheduling appointments for tomorrow. I mean, people on average that I talk to are spending 2 to 3 hours a day scheduling. And so all of this sort of stuff, I mean, it adds up. And, at some point you're right. You got to ask a question. I mean, what's your time worth? Switching gears, I am really curious. I mean, you're almost up to 60-ish mobiles across the country. I'm sure you've thought of brick and mortar. I'm curious, why not?
I'm focused on growing the franchise right now, and I'm focused on doing it's not off the table, like it's not off the table, but it's just not a priority right now. Like I want to make sure that our franchisees are successful. I want to make sure that we're doing everything, that we're getting all of our systems proper. I would like to be able to produce some of our own bands that work just the way that we want to do them. Grooming school, things like that. Like these are some of the things that I've got on the agenda. Not that a brick and mortar is off it. It's just not a priority at the moment.
I love that. I mean, might as well vertically, focus. You're right, with the schools, vans, stuff, products, stuff like that, rather than go horizontal and try and take on another business, model entirely.
Yeah.
Last question.
I've got enough, man. I've got enough.
Yeah, you've got enough on your plate.
There's a couple things I got going on, so.
And I got one more question for you, Nick, before I wrap up. And it honestly came through as I was looking around Furry Land and stuff like that. You guys are one of the only mobiles I've seen that offers cat grooming. Talk to me about why. Like, why do you guys do that? How did that come to be? And is that like a significant portion of your guys' business right now, or no? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, why not? If a groomer is capable of doing it, not all groomers are capable of doing it, but we have probably 25% of our groomers are able to groom cats. It's not significant, no, but it's not nothing. So
are you bullish on cat grooming as a whole, or is it? Do you think it's kind of just okay?
Not especially. It's just part of what we do. Usually cats are shaved, but the cats are something else. Like,
have you ever got your hands on one?
They've gotten their hands on me, but no, I personally have not gone all the way through with the cat grooming. Like I like pretty much gave up on it in my training session on it. I was just like, you know what, I can get through my life without this. But so yeah, I had the cat whisperer with me. So
yeah, no, I'm 100% with you, man. And anytime there's remotely the chance to do a cat groom, I'm like, no, I'm good. Actually, that's something I can probably live the rest of my life without doing. But Nick, dude, you're amazing. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all this stuff with us. I mean, it seems like Furry Land is just on a rocket ship right now. So it's really cool to see what you built and how far it's come. If anyone wants to, reach out and either maybe apply for a job or come be a franchisor or anything like that, I mean, what's the best route for them to go forward?
Yeah, for sure. So furryland.us. We're in we'll be across the country. We're in a lot of the major cities, like most of the major cities. Still have to get into Illinois, still have to get into California, New York State, a couple of the ones that have very specific franchising rules. We're still working on those, but soon we'll be there. But yeah, we're always hiring for excellent groomers, and for franchising, we are accepting franchisees. It's we've got the system pretty dialed in. Like, we literally have it in a manual, which I wrote, that we give to you, and we like walk you through it, and our team that help. There's so much support that we have. Like, when we are explaining how the franchise works, you hop on a webinar with myself, with Greg, with our president Maria, with our marketing team, our acquisitions team, and we show you the different models. It's like, I get blown away by how dialed in this operation
That's
is, and that
incredible.
I have a part of it. Like it's
That's so
very,
cool.
very dialed in. Very, very dialed
No, I
in.
mean
So
it's really cool the resources that you guys have available. I mean that's why it's worth it. At the end of the day, I mean to do something like
oh
this,
yeah.
it's like you guys that's your business to provide resources to people that want to own their own grooming business. So I
Yeah.
love it, man. I love it. I mean, it makes a lot of sense why you guys are so successful.
Yeah, yeah, and it's been great, and like the team is so authentic. Like everybody is like I feel like a part of their family, and we make everybody feel like they're part of our family, and it's really cool. It's really cool. So
I want to do it, man. That sounds
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and nothing makes me happier than watching our franchisees like completely kick
Oh,
kick butt. It's like that is the goal. Like we want to see you make as much money as you possibly can, be as happy as you possibly can doing it, and just be in like a way better position. And like it's yeah, we that is what we do, and it warms my cold heart. So
well, we're
yeah,
right there. Thanks again, Nick. I really appreciate it, man.
yeah, cool, my pleasure.
That's the pod.